Hello Internet, my name is Lave and I'm continuing to boldly watch Star Trek Picard. Now I was reviewing them on an episode by episode basis, spoiler free, but that was getting quite tough to do. So I've left it for a little bit and now we're at the halfway point. So here's my review for episodes 3, 4 and 5. I'm still going to keep it spoiler free with regards to the larger plot details, but there might be some little spoilers with regards to who turns up in the episodes, but nothing that hasn't been revealed in the trailers. So we last left Jean-Luc Picard meeting up with Raffi, a former colleague of his from 14 years ago who has since fallen off the rails. Now he's asking her for help to find a pilot to take him back out to space so he can find Soji, the twin sister of Dahj, the girl who asked him for help in episode 1. Now I must admit I was starting to get a bit antsy by the end of episode 2. I just felt like they needed to get Picard out into space, he needed to start his mission, and it needed to start giving up more of its secrets, which, to be fair to the series, it has started to do that now. The picture is becoming a lot more clearer, but there is definitely a formula to each episode. It basically starts off with a flashback circa 14 years ago, around about the time of this incident on Mars, before then it comes back up to present time. For example, in episode 3, we find out again a bit more about how and why Picard left Starfleet and how those events not only affected him, but Raffi as well. She's given me a Sarah Connor-like vibe in that she knows a larger conspiracy and has become obsessed by it, but nobody believes her, not even her own family, who she's become distant from now. But she still ends up tagging along on the mission and hooks up Picard with Rios, a former Starfleet pilot now suffering his own existential crisis with only a holographic crew of himself to keep himself company. His character is kind of cool from what little we've heard him talk about. I don't think his character is going to develop too much more as the series progresses. I hope I'm proven wrong. The only other crew member to mention is Alison Pill's character, Dr. Jeri. I don't want to say what her exact profession is because it might give away larger plot details, but what I will say is that it's pretty clear where they're going to go with this character, and it does go there, but I did like the way they executed it. But her character essentially rounds up the crew, and by the end of episode 3, they're finally in space and they're going on their mission. But then in episode 4, they pump the brakes again and we get another flashback to 14 years ago and Picard's involvement with some Romulans, specifically a group of warrior nuns raising a young boy called Elnor. Again, this is quite an expositional heavy episode as Picard in present day diverts from his mission to go back to this planet Vashti, I think it's called, to ask these warrior nuns for their help, where he discovers Elnor has now grown up into a man. Now Elnor has been raised by these nuns, but he can't be a part of them because, well, he's got a penis, so he ends up becoming Picard's samurai bodyguard, I suppose. But by episode 5, he's starting to turn into a bit of a comic relief character because he's a fish out of water and he's only been raised on this one planet with these nuns. He doesn't really understand what's going on. But there's plenty more to come from him, I hope, and I hope they drop the comic relief aspect. I'm sure we're going to see him kick some ass in future episodes. Whilst all of this is going on in episode 3 and 4, it dips in and out of Soji's story, who's still working out in space, who's still being closely monitored by Narek, a Romulan spy who's being hassled by his sister to find out why Soji is out there. But other than that, we don't really find out any more that we didn't already know from episode 2. Narek might be in love with Soji, and he also might be having it off with his sister. The story is still very much pointing in their direction, but their particular story gets dropped for episode 5 because, and this isn't a spoiler because she was revealed in the trailer, Picard and his new crew bump into 7 of 9, once again played by Jeri Ryan. Yeah, she's still got it. Honestly, I like what they've done with her. After all of Janeway's lessons about rediscovering her humanity, she's still trying to do that. But in a universe where Starfleet has forgotten their principles and what they stand for, so now she's a ranger, or rather a vigilante, doing what she thinks is right, and God help whoever gets in her way. Now admittedly, her character is a plot device. The new crew just randomly bump into her and then she coincidentally happens to be the right person to get them into the next part of their mission and complete it. And again, it also starts with a massive flashback to why she's doing what she's doing now, which just so happens to be the most disturbing and most gruesome thing I think ever to come out of Star Trek. Episode 5 especially goes to some dark places, but at the same time it tries to be quite whimsy, with the crew donning disguises to go to a meeting at a Las Vegas type planet called Free Cloud at one point. I did actually find episode 5 a bit tonally all over the place, but weirdly I still think it's my favourite episode so far. I'm still invested in this. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this is Star Trek going Blade Runner with a sprinkling of espionage movie in there. I'm still really appreciating all of the performances. I'm really appreciating the big budget effects. The visual effects are really very good, and there's some excellent like musical scores in there, like the Voyager theme makes a little comeback and the Next Generation theme as well. So I'm still invested. I'm still keen to see where this is going. So that's my thoughts on Star Trek Picard episode 3, 4 and 5, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. I'm sure this edgier, darker take on Star Trek is going to switch off some Star Trek fans. Some might think it's too far a cry from the ideals and the good nature of the Next Generation episodes, but for me that's kind of the point, or at least that's what seems to be the point of this series so far. Starfleet is not what it once was, and neither is Picard, but he's slowly remembering his ideals and he's slowly becoming the man that he used to be, and hopefully he will show the rest of them the way. But I'm very interested to know what you thought, especially if you're a Star Trek fan. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Have you not decided yet? Let me know down in the comments. Let's have a chat about it. And as always, thanks very much for watching this review. I really do appreciate it. If you can, give it a like. Don't forget to share the Lave. Subscribe.